a Don Studio production. Portraits in Charcoal.
So we've got this stroke, and again, because of more pressure on the pastel, it's darker and it blends across to here. What I want you to do is just take one finger and you're going to lay by the darker and just pull it out lightly, very light pressure, and just pull it out across until it fades out. And it's probably a little, you'll see it better on your paper than what you will on the video, of course. But you see how nicely it just disappears across the paper, just with one stroke? Anybody want me to look about what they've done? Do you have a question? Okay. And then the other thing I often do is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to lay my thumb here and I'm going to go up over the whole thing, which makes kind of a secondary blend and takes out the rows oftentimes I get from this way. So, you know, first I went this way and then the second one I went across this way. Okay.
Paper towel.
My arc is different than yours.
Does Brian need one?
You got yours
Brian,
on
do you want more paper?
the solid line on the right side, mine comes out on the left.
Oh, well, that's very possible.
Need a paper towel?
Yeah, in other words, I can take it this way and go this way with it. Is that what
I
you
mean, when you first put it on there.
Oh, I see,
Yeah,
okay.
I did
But
it
see,
the
now,
same
just
way.
you do like I did. See, go the other way if you still got, pull from the black out this way, and you can see it's darker quicker here and then fades out. Looks very different from up here.
When you first drew it, in other words, when you first put it on the paper,
Yeah.
your dark line's on the right of the shade of your.
Yeah, well, we're going to fool with this a couple times, so
Okay.
that's not. Now, what I'm going to do is, since I want this to be a little darker, I'm going to hold the pastel flat this time. So I'm holding it in the middle, and I'm going to do it over here. So I'm just going to use a very light pressure. See, so I'm just catching the high points. The one I did it over here, I pushed much harder. See, so I'm just going to use a lighter pressure and just kind of overlap the one I did here, kind of like you would do if you were mowing the lawn, and then come back and blend that one out. And you see by now how it's starting to get kind of an even blending. So part of what we're doing is by using different layers. Now, yeah.
Give one to you, sorry.
Yeah, and everybody needs some toilet paper too.
Oh, okay.
Why she's doing that, what I want you to do is, we're going to use this paper towel in a lot of ways. I want you to take it, fold it in half again.
Now you see it, use it.
Yeah, and blow your nose. No. Then what I want you to do is we're going to fold it like this, like we were making a paper airplane.
Or a coffee filter.
Yeah, or there you go, coffee filter. And then let's do that again.
Whatever he's doing.
So you've got this kind of dark shape. And you can even go more. I'm going to do one more time and really squish the end. So what we're doing is, you know, I don't know if any of you have a blending stump. I think a couple of you do. These are commercially made. This is rolled paper that's rolled very hard and glued, and then they just sharpen it like you would sharpen a pencil. But you can use something like this as well. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put my finger, see, on the tip here, and I'm going to start in the dark, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull down along the dark edge. And you'll see what it does is it pushes a little of that charcoal down into the low areas that I missed when I was just working on the high areas of the paper. Oh, great, yeah, thanks. So a lot of what you're doing is learning how to work with the high part of the paper, the high part of the texture, as well as the lower part and things in between. I'm going to come back again on a little less pressure this time. And each time a little less pressure, and I'm just going to pull this out, and I'm going to keep going until I wear the charcoal off the paper. See, so just keep going out, and eventually you get to the point where it won't leave much of a mark anymore. And you can see how we really start to get a nice gradation from dark to light. And it's pretty fast and pretty easy.
Yep.
Okay, I left. Oh, it's behind me.
Think.
Yeah, come in closer again if you can. Now we're going to work with the toilet paper or Kleenex.
Is that
Toilet
too close?
paper's cheaper. And I just kind of wadded it into a similar shape. And out here you can still see the white paper underneath. If you take the toilet paper and push a little bit and use a circular motion,
Like an eraser.
yeah, it's kind of an eraser, but see how it pushes it down into the white of the paper and you get this very soft. I'm going to move over a little bit. I'm going to use less pressure now. The reason I'm going to, you can see how much it's erasing even with a lighter pressure. But see, it makes it look softer. Okay, so a lot of working with the texture of the paper is either having the texture remain for effect or blending into the paper to have things smooth or any variation in between. I might even come back with a paper towel now and see work this area a little bit because each of these tools works different. And so part of the thing is playing with them and also the pressure you put on them makes a big difference. See, like right now I have kind of a rainbow effect right through here. If I didn't want that, probably the best way to get rid of that, if you have the same thing, is take your toilet paper tissue and just very lightly kind of use a circular motion until you can see it disappear and blend one into the other. Now we did that in, what, 2-3 minutes? You remember how long it took it to do that in pencil? You know, and it's a whole lot harder to do in pencil. So one of the real joys of charcoal is that it's quick and it's very forgiving. Does everybody have a kneaded eraser? Do you not have one?
Okay.
Okay.
I got this white.
Okay. What I want you to do, remember the way to clean it is take it and pull it and fold it over. And there's a number of ways you can use a kneaded eraser. One is if you have sort of a flat area like this, you can use it like a blotter. And remember silly putty?
Yes.
You know, same kind of thing. And it's very light, but you just take it and kind of go like this, and you can really pull a little of that up, and you can, let me change the pressure, kind of fool with it, and you can see how you can lighten a tone in an area.
Or of a reach.
Okay, Claudia, if you would you give, from that stack, would you give everybody another piece of white paper? The full
From
size.
which stack? The one on top?
Right over there, yeah. And I need one too, if you would.
This is gonna cost you.
That's why I've been so nice for the last 2 days. Yeah, right.
Prepaid card.
Yeah, there you go.
Paper monitor, John.
Teacher's favorite, you know, always gets the
Fight for
job.
that, John. Oh, you have paper? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a new sheet on here.
Oh, you have a new sheet, okay.
Oh, one thing I was gonna do,
Trying to keep it fresh.
forgot. Another thing comes in really handy sometimes is a piece of white chalk. I don't know if any of you have it. See, I've sharpened it with a razor blade. Because if you want to make a really nice highlight, you can do it with chalk, or you can do the same thing. You can, you know, or the classic reflection mark. You know, like a reflection off of a glass object or something like that.
Don,
So,
is this the same paper as what they've had before?
yes.
Okay. That was the question I got.
Oh, yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's the same. Oh, fine. Isn't that cool? Fish or something cool. Yeah.
Okay, what I want you to do is, on this piece of paper, I'm going to wait till she gets back to the camera so she can back that up full size for me. is we're going to do a little practice just so you can see how different this paper is than the watercolor paper. Number one is it's just a really fine texture. The other thing that's characteristic about it that's different is you can rub the charcoal hard enough that it becomes a permanent part of the paper and you cannot erase it. She said, yeah, done that, yeah. We're seeing, and part of that's the quality of the paper. That's, you know, just the way it is. So let's start, we'll do the same thing, you know, hold on to one end, and up here near the top sometimes, just pushing, I'm pushing on the right side more than the left side, make a stroke. Now, one of the things nice about the finer paper, if you get the pressure right, if you didn't, try another shot, see if you can get that to go. You got to hold it really close.
To the end?
Yeah, to the end here, and put all your pressure on one end.
Are you left-handed?
No.
Oh,
Oh.
sprained.
Is anybody here
Left-brained.
left-handed?
I am.
Oh, okay, that's a good thing to know, because
I'll trade you.
Oh,
then I will often show the left-handed approach, if we need to, because that's important. Now, first of all, just with one stroke, that's far more beautiful than it was on the other piece of paper, don't you think?
Yes.
But it's more permanent. Let's do the same thing. So I'm going to just use my thumb. I'm going to pull it. It's really different, isn't it? I mean, you know, it pulls, but you can see how much this stays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger along this edge and I'm going to rotate. Do not use too much pressure, very lightly. I'm just very lightly, because what I'm looking for, let me see if I can bring this down so you can come in on this. See if you can zoom all the way into right here.
Get rid of the lines?
Well, but I want to get rid of, that's kind of, yeah, no, you can see it. But see how you can still see the texture of the paper in there, the graininess of the paper? That's because I'm just touching very lightly. Okay, if I'm going to come down here and push harder so that I've pushed the charcoal into the grain of the paper. And when you get down, it looks like a smudge. It does. It's not a pretty mark by comparison to the other part with your finger. And if you take your kneaded eraser, my guess is you won't be able to get rid of all of it. You get rid of a lot of it. No, see, but see, there's still, that's in the paper and it's going to stay there. And so what happens, you're able to force the small particles of charcoal down between the grains of the paper, and it's not going to come out. So what you have to be careful of later when we're working with it is that, you know, you might want an area like this, but there's areas where you don't want this, especially in the really light areas, and if you press too hard, you're going to get marks in there that never are going to come out, you know. And also the thing, like I used your example for, if there's a lump of hard material under your board and it forces that into there, it's there for good. So another reason it's good to have a pad of newsprint underneath. This is from an artist's sketch pad. This is this paper I have in it. You could back out again if you would. All the way. Okay, anybody have a question? You want me to run around and take a look? Or
Yeah.
Okay. The rest of you, if you want, just stay in this corner, but if you want to smear around in place with some other while I'm walking around, go ahead and do that. And that's just by you can see the dirt on there now, or the charcoal. Okay, so I'm going to knead this a little bit more. It's a little cold. You've noticed when these things get cold, they're almost impossible to shape. But generally what I ought to do a lot of times when I'm drawing, I'll just hold the eraser like this in my other hand. Get it warm as I'm working, so it's warmed up when I go to use it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it, pinch it, so that I have kind of a blunt arced blade like that. See how it's kind of blunt here, but it's like a blade in a way. So try to do that. And then what I'm going to do is make like a highlight. Now I'm just putting it anywhere. Sometimes you would put it specific. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one end of this arc, and as I pull this, I'm going to rotate it like this, and then I'm going to lift. A lot of times, and I know some of you already know this, but just kind of share it with you. Instead of making a stroke that's the same pressure, a lot of times you want to get to the point where you can make a stroke, so you pull your pencil and you do this flick at the end, and what it does is it makes a thick to thin. That makes a really nice kind of line. It's very different from that one. Do the same thing with the eraser. So see, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull like this and lift. And since it's fairly clean, you can see how much I can take off. So, you know, if there's light reflecting off of an edge, you know, maybe on an eyelid or at the corner of the nose or lip or something, like that will do it. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a point. Okay, and this is just for which might be like the reflection in an eye or something of that nature, you know.
Came in handy the other day.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. So part of again, or you know, I'm going to take it and just take and smear and fool around with it a little bit. Yeah, well, but look at but see, it also creates a stroke in the texture. That might be something that you would want for effect on something. So this is as much a drawing tool as the charcoal. And it's important that you kind of keep that in mind. You know, this is how we pull or draw the whites back into. The charcoal is how we put the shadows in. So a lot of times when you're doing stuff, and it's too dark, or maybe I want a little lighter, you've got the tools to do it, you know. I can go over this now with the toilet paper, and if I really work it, you know, I can get rid of probably 95% of the charcoal off that area between using the kneaded eraser and using the toilet paper.
Is too big.
Oh, yeah, it's an old drafting board I had.
Linear paper is fairly strong enough, but if you want something, it might be too.
We're going to review the drawing, the sketching in the head with the proportions where the eyes, nose, mouth, and that sort of stuff goes. Nope, I better go around. And what I suggest, if you have your charcoal pencils with you, grab your soft one, the soft charcoal pencil.
What if you don't have it? What should you one use?
Which is number.
Well, it doesn't have a number, it just says soft
The
on
gray
it.
one that said salt.
Yeah, it's the gray ones like this, the gray with a black end.
It's tricky. It's very tricky.
Yeah, right, see right here it says medium, you want the one that says
Mine was.
soft. Should have had 3 of them in that kit. And guess what, I don't know what I did with mine soft one, I dropped it somewhere, so I'll just, I'm gonna use the medium one. I'll you know.
I've got orange pencil.
Oh, no, I'm not, because that one's broken. I'll use this one. Okay, here we go.
Old school. Charcoal.
Now, I want you to hold the pencil like this, way in the back like this. Can I ask if anybody was willing to volunteer while I'm holding it this way?
To get a lighter.
Yeah. To get a lighter line, so I don't accidentally, because if I push really hard, you know, I can't hold the pencil.
Right.
Or if I'm down here like this, man, I can just bust that point off in no time flat. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to start here like he did with the basic egg shape. And what I would say is we'll do the same thing. Let's do this. Put your hand down, make a little mark on the top of your hand, sort of the bottom, and that's where our egg shape is going to fit in. You want to make it, I'm going to make them a little darker than I should, so you can see what I'm doing. But you want to make it just however light, like see, I can see that on my paper, but I'm sure you can't see it on the TV. You know, you want the lightest that you can make. And probably,
Egg shape.
well, probably the best thing, I'm going to do this, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle shape first. And I'm going to come down about 3/4 of the distance to make that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and I think if you remember way back, if some of you weren't here, you should always start out ghost first. Get your arm moving in the right position, kind of see how big you're going to be, bring it down, and you're going to draw a whole series of very light lines. And like, see, mine's a little taller than it needs to be, so I can come back and sketch in this side, and you can kind of work around like this to develop that circle shape. You don't have to draw it perfect the first time, and it's better if you sketch it in with lots of lines, because what happens is your eye and your brain picks out the best circle out of that automatically. It's just the way our brains work.
Do you mean a circle or a
Circle first.
circle?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't say that, did I?
You did, you did.
Is there soft things?
Mine came out as an oval.
Yeah, that's the normal thing. So if you've got a big oval, go ahead and just kind of sketch a circle. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start, and notice I'm doing it with really broad, light strokes and working that shape in, not trying to get it right the first time.
What shape are you after?
So an egg.
Egg.
An egg standing on its small end. Come around, take a quick look. Look at some hot water.
I just filled it, or just got it off the stove. That's good.
Now, just a little clue as you're working. If the bottom of your egg is more pointy, your face will be of a younger person. Okay, see, mine's kind of medium. If you make it broader, it'll look like an older person. Okay, so that's one of those places. Also, the narrower pointed chin will look more female, where the broader chin would look more male. So it kind of works with both of those things. But it's something to kind of think of as you're sketching it in.
My square looking more.
Yeah, see, if I come here, I'm going to do it. If I come down, angle this, see, that makes it look more like it's going to be a man. You know, where if it was in here and very tiny, see, it's going to be younger. And that's one of the things as we go along we'll talk about. You know, one thing Nathan talks about a lot in the video in the beginning is, you know, just find the big simple shape, you know, and try not to look at detail. Look at big simple shapes. So it's a young person, you want to go for that shape right from the beginning, if it's an older or if it's male or whatever. Okay, so next what we want to do is halfway in between, okay, which is about the middle, I'm going to just sketch a straight line. Now the first one we're doing is with a person looking right straight at us. Okay, this is a straight view, because then we'll do the 3/4 and talk about foreshortening and some other things. All right, now the space between the eye is the same space as the length of each eye. Okay, if you were to take calipers and measure, you know, between the 2 points of your eye and then measure your eye, they're exactly the same. So what we need to do is we need to get 3 equal spaces in here, but we want to leave a little space out here. So what I'm going to do first of all, you know, I would generally approach this a little different. But see, this is the space from the outside edge of the eye to the outside edge of the head, and then I'm going to sketch it in over here first, because I think sometimes that's easier. And then this has to be divided into 3 equal spaces. So just by looking at it, I'm going to lightly kind of do this. And you may have to move that 3 or 4 times. If you want to, remember the method where you put the pencil on one end, move your thumb to the other, and then you can compare to see how close you got if you got all 3 of those pretty equal. I'm going to come around and take a quick look. Yeah. Never do it by eye. Yeah, because we're gonna, you know, because we're gonna be drawn from life before long, and so it's really important to get that practice.
Is this too big?
tiny bit maybe, yeah, I'd make it, bring them in a little bit more.
Beady eye.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, using the method that he talked about in the video, again holding our pencil out here, what we're going to do is sketch 2 circles. So what we're doing is we're sketching in the whole eyeball or the whole orb of the eye.
Halloween masks.
Yeah. Aliens.
Aliens.
Now, one of the things I noticed working lately when I was practicing, so I'm going to share it with you, drawing Caucasian versus white. One of the things I've noticed with a black person, the space between their eyes is a little bigger than the width of their eyes, and that's what helps create their broader lips. Okay? Where some other people, what may happen is this space is actually smaller than these two, and then their lips will be smaller. Okay? So remember that this is just a kind of a thinking starter point. One of the things that Nathan mentions is if the person tilts her head or turns it, all of this just goes out the window. So it's a reference point. All right, so the basic rule is if you take the corners of the eyes and come straight down, this gives you the width of the nose. And the average face, which nobody has, the bottom of the nose is halfway between this line and this line. Okay, so I'm going to come halfway in between and sketch in the bottom. This is the average face for the, say, 25 to 30-year-old person. Sort of the average kind of thing. All right, and then from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin, the mouth line is 1/3. So this space should be divided essentially into 3 equal parts. And what happens if we come from the center of the orb, or where the pupil of the eye would be, come straight down, that's where this mouth line stops.
Wow, that looks so big.
It does.
Yes,
doesn't it?
it does. But see, once we get shading and stuff on it, it really changes all of that. Now, the other thing is that your nose, everybody pretty much knows, you know how you have your nostrils, or what they call the wing of the nose right here? Okay, they did another circle, and essentially where the circle goes is what would be the top of the nostril to kind of like where the chin line is here. So we're going to sketch a circle in right here. I'd never done that before. This was new for me, and I found it to be very useful. And part of what we'll want to look at later as we go on is why that is so useful.
So it basically doesn't go all the way to the end of the egg.
No.
Yeah.
Well, again, it varies, because what happens is they found that what they do is put another circle here for the chin.
Okay.
Okay? And that really helps again with age differential. Is that relationship between this circle and this circle, which, you know.
How did you get that tarp arch again on the nose? Why did you determine that?
Oh, if this were the wing of the nose,
Uh-huh.
okay, this is just a circle started there, and the circle would just round up here is all. So
How high do you determine that?
where this space is,
Well, off that 9-degree we come across the bottom of the nose to where you start your circle at the top and then arch.
And across the nose.
yeah, I see what you're saying. No, it's
How
a
do you-
judgment. If
Oh.
this were a nose, see here would
All
be
the nose vary, yeah.
yeah, all of, see again, this is the average. Oh, I'm doing a pretty poor job here. That would be like the nostril here.
Oh, okay.
See,
So you
and
just
so
basically pick a point.
yeah, pick a point where you
Small
think.
nose, big nose.
Yeah, well, the average nose. See, this is all. Yeah.
I'm off somewhere. My circle, I don't have a circle. I can't do a circle.
Okay, see where the bottom of the nose was here?
Yeah.
Okay, if this were all this were the nose, the nostril would be here.
Right,
So-
but the bottom of your circle,
Oh, it comes down to about where this spot would be on the face. Okay, so if you start here, see here's the mouth, and see I've come down from the mouth a little less distance than I did from the nose.
So it's between the circle and the chin kind of thing.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
and then oftentimes this chin one overlaps too a little bit. And I'm glad you're asking those questions, because like in the video he goes over this, but it's like, I think the assumption is you've done it 1,000 times, you know what he's talking about. So yeah, please ask the questions. Now, I think I mentioned to you this before. One of the people have with portraits is they spend a lot of time getting just the eye right and the nose right and the mouth right, and when they're done it doesn't look anything like who they're drawing.
Right.
And that's because the eye, nose, and mouth is probably less than 15% of the whole face. Everything is all these fleshy areas, the cheeks, the chin, the forehead, all of that stuff is what makes the individual more than anything else. So one of the things the circle does is, if this is the orb of the eye, there's a definite space right between here. You might want to for now draw a little arrow in here. Some people's faces are much longer in that part between the eye and the mouth. Other people's are kind of compacted. Okay, so what it does is it gives you a relationship between this circle and this circle. See, let's say this person had a long nose and it was lower. See, then I could come back and change this circle, and I control that space there. Okay, it's just kind of a neat way to see, and it gives you all these nice negative spaces in between here. See, like here's the cheek, and that's what this line is here for. There's a line that comes off the nose, we'll do it now, comes down to the cheek, comes around the corner of the mouth like right here, which is a pretty standard, and that shape varies from individual to individual, but it shows you where the top of the cheekbone is in relation to the eye, the bulge of the smile, and then how that hooks around the corner of the mouth. So the size of this and this space really help you to see that in a particular individual, so you can make those changes as you're working. The other thing that's really important is you constantly want to look at what you're doing. So far we've drawn pretty fast. My basic thing that I go by is your pencil should only be on the paper 20% of the time you're working. The 80% of the time is looking at your model, looking at your paper, looking back and forth, comparing. Now, as I'm just roughly comparing mine, I don't know if yours is the same, but I'm pretty sure the top of the head is too small on mine. So I'm going to compare this distance from the bottom of the chin to the center eye part, and look at how much bigger my head should be. And see, now's the time to get it right.
How did you do that again?
I measured from here to the bottom of the chin, and then just took it up here.
And the chin is the bottom.
The very bottom of
Because
this.
your eyes
Yeah.
should be the center of the face.
Yeah. Yes, the eyes are in the center of your head, believe it or not.
That's right.
Which doesn't seem right at all.
I know, because what everybody does is they look at the hairline down,
Yeah.
and they block out the top of the head.
If you have a hairline.
Well, there you go. We'll bring shoe polish next time.
I need a tattoo up there.
There you go.
Tattoo of hair.
Yeah, well, I'm close behind, as you can see. All right, the other thing, like when I was talking about that drawing I showed you of the black girl, to me right now, this is too big of a space. It's too wide. So see, I might come back and...
Your head's in the way.
Oh. And yours may be a little different, but just try it. Just see if I come back, how it really changes who this is.
Very narrow.
Who is this?
It's
The
that
average
perfect middle person.
It's the average American Jew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you're playing. The ear goes between somewhere in here, the center, essentially the center of the eye, the bottom of the nose, and usually you get a curve coming out this way, it rounds around, it curves in a little bit and comes down like that. This is like Obama. And it's interesting. You get them in the right place, they just look right.
Come low, just kind of center line.
Yeah, see the bottom of the nose is the bottom of the ears. And about the center of the eyes is where the top of the ear is. And as the head tilts, that changes because the ears are back far enough. If the head was tilted down so the chin was closer in the forehead, the ears would move up.
It's an awful small ear.
Yeah.
Well, again, see, that would change. As we get older, they get bigger, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They don't work either.
Yeah, they just become wings. How we doing back there? Okay, everybody? Holler out if you have a question. But just like this line, oh, just a minute. I'm not used to sitting on a horse yet and getting a cramp here. There we go, I think. Oh, darn it.
Maybe everybody ought to stand up and
Yeah, let's
stretch.
all stand up for a minute. Why don't you stop the camera? What we'll do down here is we're going to draw a 3/4 view. And a 3/4 view is kind of the standard view that really likes to get used. It's just a little more interesting than anything else. And what we're going to do, and I think we've talked about this before, but I want to review it. Foreshortening. Does anybody remember when we talked about it before what foreshortening is? One of the nice things about the TV, I can really show you. Here's my pencil. And my pencil is this long because it's flat with the paper. Okay, watch what happens to it as it comes towards you. Yeah.
It shortens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you're looking at things in the 3D world, what your mind does is you say, oh, I know how long that pencil is, and that's how long it is. And so what you want to do is draw it based on what you know rather than what you see. This is what we see. Also notice, if you look at it very carefully, this is a little harder to see. If you look carefully at the end and this end, notice how much bigger this end is than that one. So let's really quick, let's draw a pencil.
We should draw a pencil.
Yeah, see that's this pencil coming like this at us right here. It's a foreshortened pencil. I'm going to do the same thing with my arm. Everybody just watch for a minute, don't draw. My arm is as long as the screen, right? As I come towards the camera.
Shorter and shorter.
We did that when we did the tree.
Yes, yes.
Freaky.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing. And so,
Take it away.
yeah. So if you're going to draw an arm with a hand coming at you, here's the arm. Here's the hand. There's the arm going that way. See? The arm comes out, and this is the part of the arm coming at you. See? And here's the hand with the fingers. Uncle Sam wants you.
Right.
Remember the old
Oh, yeah.
old poster? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to deal with foreshortening also when we're working with drawing the face in the 3/4. And the basic rule of thumb to remember as things go away from you, because do you all understand that the point of the pencil is further away than the eraser? See, if I go like this, see the point's further away than the end of the pencil?
Right.
As things go away, they get smaller. As they come towards you, they get bigger. Okay?
This has been a Don Studio production under the cooperation of the Wairika Institute for the Arts and Wairika Preservation.